Streaming live from the beautiful city of Hollywood, Florida, USA. This is SoFloRadio.com.
SoFloRadio.com presents Catherine B. and the Echo Revolution, a call to action for those who know things need to change. From what connects us to nature to how we eat and live, every choice we make can create symbiotic living on Earth. Green consciousness is a revolutionary shift in paradigm to heal our planet and our personal well-being in this generation. Be a part of the shift that is happening. And now, here's Catherine B.
Hey y'all, welcome to the show. I'm Catherine B. and I am so happy to be here today. If you listened to the show a couple of weeks ago, George asked me this really profound question all about water and what is the best water. So I love water. As you guys know, we drink bee water all the time, and I truly believe that we should get our nutrition through water and our fiber through food. And the reason being is that we can break all the systems. We can break all the conformity of thinking of food coming from animals and vegetables and traditionally the way we eat. So water to me is this fascinating, what I call sacred science, and it has a spiritual element to it because it can hold our consciousness. So it can save the world, it can save the planet, and it can also be sacred and hold what's in our hearts. The reason that we're focusing again on water this show is because after George's question, I did some great research, and thanks to Miss Sunset here, we have Bruce Stanley in the house, and he is an expert at water. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to have you sit down, relax, and think about what you hold sacred, what we find in the daily life, other than our children and pets and the things that we know are sacred. What do we hold sacred? And when we start to think of the most common things as sacred, we connect to them consciously. So take a moment, breathe in. George, don't make a joke here. But what is the number one common element throughout the world that unites us and that we just take for granted? Water, water, water everywhere. And the reason that it's sacred is because it's the same water that we have shared since the beginning of time. All animals, plants, and people, it's the same water over and over. So that I believe that the energy in this water is collective, and there's just, it's so powerful. It's so healing. And it's also something that we're running out of. So let's introduce my co-partner on the show. I didn't realize I had a co-partner, right? Mother Nature, and we're going to talk about water.
I am water. To humans, I am simply just there. I'm something they just take for granted. But there is only so much of me, and more of them every single day. I start as rain in the mountains, flow to the rivers and streams, and end up in the ocean. Then the cycle begins again. And it will take me 10,000 years to get back to the state I'm in now. But to humans, I'm just water, just there. Where will humans find me when there are billions more of them around? Where will they find themselves? Will they wage wars over me, like they do over everything else? That's always an option. But it's not the only option.
Right. So if we don't hold water sacred, and we don't realize its value. We're going to go to war over water as we go to war over everything else that's a commodity that is for some and not for everyone. I want you guys, every time you look at water, to realize that it's pretty special, especially here in America where we have it everywhere. And for you YouTube people, all these plastic water bottles are here for a reason. We're not promoting plastic water bottles. So let's hand it over to Bruce. I'm going to read your intro, if you don't mind. And I have my glasses today. Yay. So let's see if this helps. Bruce Stanley, for 10 years, has been a green activist for the shift in awareness on how consumerism can affect every policy in our government and in our daily lives. Bruce is also a Kangen distributor of the best water source I have researched and found, and is the co-chair of the Miami Dade Green Party. He is helping to also organize critical mass with bike advocacy, which for me is huge. During one of my phases, I decided to ride a bike only, and I decided to ride a bike in heels and to be dressed like I would be on a bus. And Miami is not a bike-friendly town.
No, it's not.
Between that and the buses not working, even with the bike racks and things like that, it was virtually impossible. But I did it for a short time, so I'm very happy about bike advocacy. We met and we worked together on the March Against Monsanto, and that was really, Bruce has been working for 3 years on the project and really gaining momentum. Really a lot of effort. I saw all the work that you put into it. And I guess that I would like to talk really about, what we do with water these days and the context of our crisis with water. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Sure, exactly. Well, thank you, Karen. It's Catherine. It's a pleasure to be here on the show. Typically when we're talking about water these days, it's in the context of crisis, whether it's the drought in California, the radiation leaking into the Pacific Ocean, the oil in the Gulf, the oil pipelines that threaten the Ogallala Aquifer. I think all these situations are driving the renewed scrutiny on water quality. That I think it's revealing the inferior state of our water supply generally. So when we, talk about what kinds of water people are drinking on a regular basis, you're usually reaching for tap or bottled water. And I'm not sure it's well understood the problems with both of those.
Well, I think, again, my big point is when we decide to purchase, we're purchasing into the plastic and into the oil and into the old world thinking. And when we come up with more alternative sources of bottling our own or making ourselves more sustainable through water, we solve a lot of the problems that we have, including could you describe what privatization is on water?
Sure. Well, we're seeing the privatization of the world's water supplies. For example, I know that you did a show just recently all about, the problems with bottled water. So, just to summarize, there's a documentary called Tapped, which explores the issue in depth. But, you have companies like, Nestle. The CEO recently got into hot water when he said that he doesn't believe that water is a fundamental human right. Now, of course, someone in his business, is going to have a financial incentive to hold a belief like that. But that's can be a big problem because in the world of power, those ideas have a way of becoming policy, which is what we're seeing. So if you look at Detroit, for example, you see low-income families having the water cut off due to unpaid bills. So it's not seen as a fundamental right. You look at California, you have Nestle plants, bottling water. Completely unaffected by the water restrictions that
Wait
they're
a minute, hold
putting
on
in
a second.
place.
So Nestle is not restricted by this? You want to go into detail on that?
Sure. Well, just beyond the
That's crazy.
That doesn't make any sense.
Just beyond the basic
So the farmers and the growers and everyone else is affected, but Nestle.
Continuing to pull from public water supplies, and we see this happening around the world as well. And in South America, it was a lot of corporations going in there and claiming the water resources and bottling it and then selling it back to the local population. So the privatization of the world's water supply is in part driven by our dependence on bottled water.
And what I think, too, again, in America or in countries where water is so available, we don't realize that most of the world water is still a scarcity, or they're digging wells with their hands to try to find it, and the wells are coming up dry because we are in a crisis. But we'll continue on then. This is, so Nestle, is there other companies that we need to know about and stop buying Nestle products? That means the chocolate too. Are there other companies that we should be aware of?
Well, a couple of the major beverage manufacturers, have gotten into the water business a long time ago.
And they're basically tapping into the public sources of water and then selling it wrapped in plastic to us.
Right. So, for example, I believe it's Coke that owns Dasani and Pepsi that owns Aquafina, if I'm not mistaken. And, the other environmental cost of that is the emissions that it takes to ship bottled water around the world.
Right. On top of the fact that it's wrapped in plastic. And there's a theory about this plastic that we were talking about before. Do you want to talk about that? You had mentioned, let's see. Oh, the heat degree, the heat index.
Yeah, no. So and the Tapped documentary, they explored how some of the bottled water facilities will heat the water up to a couple hundred degrees, and it's used to mold the plastic of the bottle, which that's pretty problematic because that's when some of the chemicals can leach its way into the water. So it's almost as if the water itself is a byproduct of the manufacturing process.
Yeah, we were covering this on the other show, that you're definitely getting those atoms that supposedly take hundreds of years to finally settle down into your body. And this is also why we're fatigued, because in review, for you science geeks, it's the plastic that's affecting the mitochondria, which affects our serotonin and our energy levels. So another point to boycott these companies or simply make our own. So let's talk a little bit about tap water.
Well, because
I believe that tap water is better than bottled water for these reasons, these plastic issues. What do you feel?
Sure. Well, just to also quickly mention, the other problem with bottled water is that we didn't mention was that it's ending up in the world's oceans. Yeah. I believe we have 7 gyres in the Pacific, and a couple of which I'm told I've read are the size of Texas, and it's really hard to wrap your head around that. I mean, I've driven through Texas before. It's a long drive. The idea that you could have that much plastic accumulated. Right,
and it's not being recycled as much as we think it is. It's just going into low-grade product, and the bottle caps alone are killing the birds. So that's a huge point.
Sure. So again, it's easy to think that the solution is tap water.
Let me just interject one thing. So you people that are listening out there, I want you to take a Eco Revolution challenge today, and I want you, if you're still not really buying the whole making your own water, I want you to count how many water bottles you go through per week. Just keep them in your car, don't throw them out, and see by the end of the week just how easy it is to collect dozens and dozens and dozens of them. So, okay. Go on.
Sure. No, but so that's why, there's kind of a renewed focus on, why buy bottled water, just turn to tap water. Well, a couple things to keep in mind about tap water. Tap water is federally regulated. And you have water treatment plants that add in chlorine, of course, to kill waterborne bacteria, and fluoride. Well, the problem is if you don't remove that chlorine before consumption, you're essentially drinking a mild bleach solution.
You'd think my teeth would be whiter.
So it's very important to get that chlorine removed, at the source of,
I drink a lot of tap
consumption.
water.
And the problems with fluoride are, well documented by this group called FAN, the Fluoride Action Network, which is made up of medical, dental, and scientific professionals. As well, the Environmental Working Group released a report that analyzed water samples from 200 municipal water systems in 43 states, and they found chemicals considered probable human carcinogens in every single water system they tested.
Wow. Okay, and the government knows about this, and this is being... This is when I just get so frustrated, and I want the one love concept, but I get so frustrated. On top of that, I heard that, the other thing that we're not aware of is the amount of medical chemical medicines and other things, because when we take our medicine cabinet and we throw out old medicine, that is also in our system. So we have these chemicals, and then we also have, if you think about the healthcare system and how many people are on medications, and those end up in our water system, would you agree that that's another?
Yeah, they're finding traces of pharmaceuticals because people are, flushing their, their pills down the toilet or, down the sink, and, in the aggregate that ends up in the water supply as well.
I think when you talk about this, I just keep envisioning these countries where they obviously don't have this problem. They don't have tap water, but just if you had to carry water to your house and you had to put it on your head or have it on your arms, I mean, it's just incredible at how much labor and how much work happens just to keep ourselves bathing in water, drinking water, washing with water, washing our cars with water, wasting water, So if we were to find an idealistic world, like the freshest water, would you say that it is spring water? And that's what I would love to drink. And Zephyr Hills would be, I guess, the place. Oh, I'm not plugging Zephyr Hills. So tell me more about what we could do to tap water if we don't live in Zephyr Hills.
Sure. Well, another property of water is, the alkalinity. So, for example, if you think of your body as a fishbowl. What happens if you don't change the water in a fish tank?
Gets all dirty and fungus and
fish die. It's very sad.
What happens to the fish, right? They die, and that's because when they go through their when they poop and they go through their digestive process, that turns the water more acidic. And if you don't change that water, the water becomes too acidic and they die. Think about that. If you think about your body as an aquarium, when your body becomes too acidic, when the water in your body and your blood, your cells, just like the fish, die. So the cellular repair occurs naturally and automatically as long as you stay at homeostasis. The blood self-regulates itself within the 7.3 to 7.45 pH range. So for example, if you're using a reverse osmosis water system, you need to remineralize the water afterwards, or you're just left with dead water. That's what most bottled water is. There was
But I thought that the reverse osmosis system is a good thing.
In my opinion, it's only good if you remineralize afterwards, because reverse osmosis is a very, it's a process that takes out everything. So yeah, you get rid of the chlorine and the fluoride, but you also take out all the healthy, positive minerals as well. So if you don't add those minerals back in afterwards, that water's not going to have nutritional value.
So would you say that tap water is better than just regular reverse osmosis water? Which is the worst? Which is the
which is the greater evil, right?
Yeah.
That's the question, I guess.
Well, I mean, for your health, it's more of a toss up. For the environment, probably bottled water is going to be worse because of the side effects. So,
Well-
I mean, there was a New York Times bestselling book called The Blue Zones.
I was going to ask you about that. What is the blue zone?
Sure. So this was a series of studies looking to identify the regions of the world with the longest living populations. They found some common characteristics, some of which you'd expect: plant-based diet, routine exercise, less rates of smoking,
love.
strong community ties. They also found these populations tended to live in regions where naturally occurring alkaline water sourced through mountain runoff streams was found. So when alkaline water reaches your stomach, it causes it to temporarily become alkaline, and that triggers the stomach to produce hydrochloric acid, which has the effect of pushing alkaline buffers into the bloodstream. So that's how the body maintains homeostasis. When the stomach produces the acid, the alkaline buffers are a byproduct, and that goes into the bloodstream and keeps you, brings your alkaline levels back up. So that's why it's good to drink the water 20 minutes before meals to stimulate the production of that stomach acid, which aids in digestion. And that's also why you're not supposed to consume alkaline water or any kind of beverage with food, because you don't want to neutralize the stomach acid from being able to do its job.
So we have these beautiful places. If anyone lives here, we've got, Lourdes, France, Tecate, Mexico. How do you say that?
Is it Taicote or
Taicote, Mexico, Nadan, India,
Nordau.
Again, glasses aren't helping. Germany, and the Himalayan mountains. So if anyone is there, that's pretty amazing. And these people are drinking, would you say that in these places in the study in the blue zone, are these regulated water sources, or are these spring water, or?
No, this is coming rolling straight off the mountain.
I want to
just
move.
Like the classic, just like the old days. But you can't really do that so much in the industrial world. You're not gonna go down to the local river and fill up your buckets, because who knows what's in that water? Who knows if you're downstream from industrial pollution?
My
Right.
dad does that in upstate. He goes to the stream and he brings like a bucket and he gets all the water, and then he comes back home and he like boils it and whatever.
I love
and
your
then-
dad. That's pretty cool.
I know. It's just I haven't thought about that. I'm like, oh, look at my dad about the water, and I didn't know about that until now.
Well, and again, this brings us back to being a modern society. We're not going to do that. We're just not. We're too busy. We're too overwhelmed. As consumers, we have to turn into advocates, and that would be a beautiful thing. That would be a beautiful thing to be able to do, but we have to come up with some alternatives. And again, what we do in America affects the rest of the world. And we've been talking, and we're going to get more into the health benefits of seeing water clearly on the second half of the show, but I think we really have to realize that water is also used so decadently. And again, it comes back to the sacred science of it. We just continuously don't see these freshwater sources going into the sea and dispersing. And at the rate we're going, what is going to happen? I would actually like to show the next clip of the seriousness of this, and also for you YouTube people, just 1 second, for you YouTubers that were here last week, we had Jim on talking about the oceans and sea rise, and how the fish, remember the fish, are also really affected by all of this climate change. So we're going to segue from the fish into the world crisis of water shortages.
Since 1950, fishing catches have increased fivefold, from 18 to 100 million metric tons a year. Thousands of factory ships are emptying the oceans. 3/4 of fishing grounds are exhausted, depleted, or in danger of being so. Most large fish have been fished out of existence since they have no time to reproduce. We are destroying the cycle of a life that was given to us. At the current rate, all fish stocks are threatened with exhaustion. Fish is the staple diet of 1 in 5 humans. We have forgotten that resources are scarce. 500 million humans live in the world's desert lands, more than the combined population of Europe. They know the value of water. They know how to use it sparingly. Here, they depend on wells replenished by fossil water, which accumulated underground in the days when it rained on these deserts, 25,000 years ago. Fossil water also enables crops to be grown in the desert to provide food for local populations. The field's circular shape derives from the pipes that irrigate them around a central pivot. But there is a heavy price to pay. Fossil water is a non-renewable resource. In Saudi Arabia, the dream of industrial farming in the desert has faded. As if on a parchment map, the light spots on this patchwork show abandoned plots. The irrigation equipment is still there, the energy to pump water also. But the fossil water reserves are severely depleted. Israel turned the desert into arable land. Even though these hothouses are now irrigated drop by drop, water consumption continues to increase along with exports. The once mighty River Jordan is now just a trickle. Its water has flown to supermarkets all over the world in crates of fruit and vegetables. The Jordan's fate is not unique. Across the planet, one major river in 10 no longer flows into the sea for several months of the year. Deprived of the Jordan's water, the level of the Dead Sea goes down by over 1 meter per year. India risks being the country that suffers most from the lack of water in the coming century. Massive irrigation has fed the growing population, and in the last 50 years, 21 million wells have been dug. In many parts of the country, the drill has to sink ever deeper to hit water. In western India, 30% of wells have been abandoned. The underground aquifers are drying out. Vast reservoirs will catch the monsoon rains to replenish the aquifers. In dry season, women from local villages dig them with their bare hands. Thousands of kilometers away, 800 to 1,000 liters of water are consumed per person per day. Las Vegas was built out of the desert. Millions of people live there. Thousands more arrive every month. The inhabitants of Las Vegas are among the biggest consumers of water in the world. Palm Springs is another desert city with tropical vegetation and lush golf courses. How long can this mirage continue to prosper? The Earth cannot keep up. The Colorado River, which brings water to these cities, is one of those rivers that no longer reaches the sea. Water levels in the catchment lakes along its course are plummeting. Water shortages could affect nearly 2 billion people before 2025.
Oh, wow. I guess this is what really drives me crazy. I mean, I used to love Las Vegas, living in LA. We would go there for the weekends. But when I started doing the research and I realized what's happening to the water tables and to these great rivers and to these people in these countries, it just breaks my heart. I could not go back to Vegas and enjoy it. And I can't stand America being that decadent. I just realized that I shifted, and now we need everyone to shift. And there's other ways that we can do things without wasting this sacred commodity. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to bring that up. There was a headline, I think, in the Washington Post just recently that showed that in Beverly Hills or some of the richer neighborhoods in California during the water restrictions, some of those neighborhoods' water consumption went up during during the restrictions. So it shows that we're not really taking this resource seriously.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that once you start bringing your consciousness, your green consciousness into it, and you start realizing again how much you consume and how grateful we are in America that we have a choice between all these different types of water. But water, and this is why I love what you do, the definition of Kangen is an ancient Japanese word. You want to talk about that? Because again, we are in America and we do have these choices. So what is the best choice since we can't drink tap and we can't drink just plain ionized reverse? Tell us what to do, Sensei.
Sure. Well, I'm thankful to have discovered Kangen water. Kangen means is a Japanese word that means return to origin. So that's kind of the philosophy
return to origin.
The company.
Kangen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I got involved in this project in early 2013 when one of my clients was looking into alternative cancer treatments for his mother, who was suffering from cancer at that time. He purchased one of these machines, these Kangen water ionizers, and it came with DVDs that, out of curiosity, I watched just to learn more about the project. So kind of, going a little bit into the history of this, back in 60s and 70s, Russians' research was picked up by the Japanese. They were, doing, real intense investigations into water. And the Japanese began using this special type of ionized alkaline water.
Wait, excuse me one second. What year did you say?
It was research that the Russians were doing in the 60s and 70s was
That's
picked
exactly
up.
When the Japanese also did all of this unplanned consciousness, which is, I'm a founder of the Gardatarian movement, which is Green Life Consciousness. And that's the same time. And again, waters and plants. So this is really, Japan just rocks it. And Dr. Emoto, who we're going to be closing the show with in honor of him, is a huge part of this because he too believes that water holds intention. So go Japan. Continue.
Yeah, no, as a culture, they seem to have understand the balance between, modernization, modern technology, and still keeping that in harmony with nature. And I think, that might be why, some of the pop culture artifacts that come out of Japan, like, Princess Mononoke, are so, captivating by audiences, because they deeply understand, the animism of nature and the great spirit of nature. So in the 80s, that's when they began to roll this technology out in their hospitals as part of medical treatments, particularly for skin conditions. So it was, rolled out to 300 Japanese hospitals. And what was happening is the water itself was becoming so popular that there were lines forming outside the hospitals of people with water jugs, just going to fill up the water. And there was a Sony executive, Hironari Yoshiro, who saw the, potential business opportunity there. So he founded a Nagic Incorporated, which in the early 90s introduced a home-based model. The company branded that particular medical grade water produced by its machines as Kangen water. So it was talked about on Japanese state television and became, so successful that today there's 400,000 units in use in Japan. Japan has the healthiest, longest living population on the planet, and they spend half as much on healthcare as we do in the U.S.
They also eat a lot of seaweed, and that has a lot of protein. And why don't you give us a demo for you YouTube people? We're going to talk to you what happens here. Again, all these plastic water bottles are here for a reason. Now, Dr. Emoto believes that our consciousness and water holds our intention. So let's all put some love into these bottles. And Bruce is going to show us.
We're going to do a pH test. We're going to compare the pH and alkalinity of different, common bottled waters and sodas.
So we're pouring different waters and sodas into plastic glasses. Okay, I'm going to allow the plastic today. I'm not going to lose my mind over it just because, that was my old favorite. We're pouring Smart Water. I hope it does well. Okay.
All right, so we have Sprite, we have Gatorade, we have Dasani, Smart Water, and Aquafina.
Which is the Coca-Cola product.
Oh, and
Zephyr Hills. Okay. My mother lives near Zephyr Hills, so I'm kind of fond of that area. So back to Dr. Emoto. He froze water crystals and found intention is held within these frozen water crystals. So we will be ending the show with a video on how incredibly beautiful they are or how ugly they are. So not only is water a sacred science, it's been proven again out of Japan to hold energy and consciousness, which just blows me away. And if water can hold it, plants can hold it. And if plants can hold it, we hold it, and the earth holds it, because we're all about 70% water. So now Bruce is doing some kind of...
Yeah, we call this dropping the drops.
Okay. And he's dropping...
What do you notice when we... what color is this turning when we drop here into the Sprite?
Okay, into the Sprite, we've dropped drops, and it's orange.
Very deep orange, right?
Deep orange.
Here we have Gatorade.
We have Gatorade, and Gatorade is about the same.
Also deep orange. So
deep orange.
So keep in mind, so the pH ranges from 0 to 14, 7 being neutral. So here in the Sprite and Gatorade, we're on the acidic end of the spectrum. And now something you might find interesting about the Smart Water.
Ooh, it turned yellow. It turned chartreuse. I like the color.
So,
is that good?
Well, we're getting there. It's still
still like at a green,
yellowish, greenish.
Okay, yellow green. You want to show it on the, if you want to pick it up on. Let's see.
Okay. So here we go. Here's our
Okay,
Smart Water.
Smart Water.
Oh, our Dasani should have come sooner because that's
Dasani.
That's still yellow.
Okay.
Now Aquafina.
Aquafina. This is like a horse race. Aquafina is still coming in, and it
Still
is
pretty
orange.
orange.
Super
Pretty
orange,
yellow,
super
right?
orange.
Let's get over to Zephyr Hills.
Zephyr Hills is coming in, and it is
Okay.
super dark
Starting to get there, right?
It's
turning
looking
blue.
good. Wow.
So this is more alkaline.
See, I told you Zephyr Hills. That's where. Yeah, if we have to leave Miami, that's one place where we could go. But again, it's going to be an urban riot up there.
Now let's try our tap water,
Tap water.
which is figuratively.
Hollywood Water won awards. I love Hollywood. I'm telling you. Ooh, that's pretty too. Beautiful.
Nice blue. So
All
that's
right,
regulated at pH 7.0.
Bruce,
Now
do me a favor. Just step away from the waters. Everybody, look at this beautiful presentation. You guys can see it. Okay.
And now we get to the star of the show. This is the Kangen water 9.5. Wow, purple.
Oh, it's the highest chakra color. Wow, indigo.
So, nice,
Incredible.
nice
See?
deep purple, right? So this is on the far end of the alkaline
Beautiful.
range.
Wow. Beautiful. So let's put some blessings into this water. Let's just. Yes, what does it mean?
So
and can we drink it?
So yeah, let's explore this a little bit.
Okay.
You know, it took me a while to get over soda. I used to be a big fan of Sprite, but then I learned that it's 50,000 times more acidic than your ideal blood pH.
Wow. So
Don't drink it.
don't drink it?
No.
Okay, I'm
No. No. No.
Go on. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I brought you presents. I brought you both a gallon
Oh,
of Kangen
thank you.
to take back.
We can make bee water with it. Yay.
So what we're seeing here is that, some of these bottled waters are nearly, as acidic as soda. And soda, what's causing this is the phosphoric acid in the soda. And that really doesn't belong in your body. So, we're seeing an equivalency here between we think we're making the healthier choice when we, pick up the bottled waters, but, as you can see, a lot of them are just as acidic. So that's the other thing to be aware of. And, when we get over to the other end of the spectrum, you can see, visually how much, more alkaline the Kangen is by comparison.
And are the minerals, so what about the minerals?
Okay, so the ionization process,
Mm-hmm.
the ionizer is connected to the tap, goes through pre-filtration to take out all the chlorine and the fluoride and any other contaminants, goes into the machine, it passes through platinum-coated titanium plates and is split into acidic and alkaline streams. And so when you can control the pH, you create waters that have different uses. So in the 8.5 to 9.5 range, that's where you're going to find your drinking waters. The 5.5 pH is beauty water, which I have a sample of this here. So this 5.5 is a toner. It's an astringent.
Ooh, I want to spray.
Firms and tightens your skin. And, it's just one of the other types of waters.
There goes all the electric equipment. Oh, okay. I needed that. Thank you.
Right?
So, okay, well, fantastic. Now, can we get our government to put in a huge system like this? What about healthcare? This is wonderful and brilliant, but how could we incorporate something like this? Tell us what we could do or what our situation is.
Sure. So, it's important to keep in mind that, the water doesn't treat or heal anything. It's just a prerequisite for the body's ability to function. Every neurochemical reaction that happens in your body takes place in water.
Well, I do disagree, though. I do believe that it's healing in the fact that it's psychological and it's part of nature. And when we bathe in it or we get into the ocean or we find it when we're like in a drought situation in a garden, we do tend to change. So I think that it is very healing, but more in a metaphysical way. In every way, but it's a very spiritual thing for me, water.
Sure. I mean, your body's 70% water, your brain's 80% water. That's interesting because the surface of the earth is 70% water. So you have a little bit of the macrocosm, microcosm effect happening there. And it's important to keep in mind this process. Oxidation leads to dehydration, which leads to inflammation. And that's when you've got a problem.
Right.
So, one of the other properties of this water is active hydrogen. It's a super antioxidant, and it might be the most important aspect of the Kangen water. Active hydrogen acts as a free radical scavenger, and that's really where the action is at, and it's why ionized alkaline water is superior to, just filtered water.
Wow. And that's missing in, obviously, tap water, correct?
Right.
Okay. So would a system like this, would it work to build a large-scale system like this, like Japan did? Did Japan actually use this throughout the whole country, or is it still just sold privately?
The only industrial applications is for hospitals.
Well,
and home-based use.
Okay, I think it should be for everyone.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
hopefully somebody watching this gets inspired and.
Yeah, come on, you next generation. Let's figure out how we can have this for everyone.
Wake up.
Yeah, please. You guys are the ones. We want to give you a beautiful earth. And in the diet course, hydration is a huge part. I teach an 8-week course, which is actually starting August 24th. We're going to be doing webinars and a live course for 8 weeks. And it gets you hydrated because, again, hydration is huge. Living in Miami, we are constantly in a state of hydration, I think. And so tell us more about the health benefits, like why we have to buy one of these systems.
Sure. So ionized alkaline water helps flush acidic waste from the body. And like, for example, it's for athletes, it helps flush the buildup of lactic and uric acid, which, aids in muscle recovery time. So gentleman, Shan Stratton, who's an athletic nutrition consultant, who's responsible for getting Major League Baseball teams and football teams and athletes on the Kangen water. His company has a slogan: nutrient utilization is more important than just nutrient consumption. Little factoid that people aren't really aware of. In the previous couple of Super Bowls ago, when the Seahawks, completely just, dominated, they were on Kangen water. It was a blowout, and they were the team that were on Kangen water. So Shan Stratton was the guy who helped implement that. And there's Major League Baseball teams that have, contracts with Gatorade, but secretly their bottles are, filled up with Kangen. So that's, something else.
Well, that's why I started the bee water, because there's fire retardant, there's so many negative things. And when we get our nutrition through water, when we know that our bodies are saturated with anti-inflammatory agents, we feel better, we thrive, and we really need to see water, be water, and drink water, but the right ones. So what would you recommend for those that can't afford the system? What would you recommend? Would you say a couple boiling? Is this system something that we could make payments on, or could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, right. I mean, most people finance these machines. A certified medical device built to last. They still have them working after 20, 25 years. If we're talking about, things that people should know, first of all, you need to know the formula to calculate how much water you need on a daily basis. What's the recommended amount? So you take your weight, divide it in half, and that number is the amount of ounces that you need on a daily basis. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you need 100 ounces. There's 128 ounces in a gallon. So you can see, most people need half a gallon to a gallon a day.
But that's the average person. Like, I garden for a living, and I teach yoga for a living, and Ms. Sunset is a yoga teacher too. So we need even more than that because we're constantly sweating it out. So that's interesting. So say that one more time. It's based on the weight.
Your body's weight divided in half, and that number is the amount of ounces that you need on a daily basis.
Okay. Very interesting. Cool.
Sure. I mean, so, in America, we have more of a sick care system than a healthcare system. The standard American diet is so nutritionally deficient, that it's causing these people to develop, conditions prematurely. So when we talk about, the properties of this water, why are they important? The U.S. has a life expectancy of about 38 in the world, which is a disaster if you're not an insurance or pharmaceutical company. So, and it's all about developing high-tech ways of diagnosing and treating symptoms and not addressing root causes. So, again, what's some of the fundamentals that we're taking away from this? Acidosis and chronic dehydration are at the root of many common, degenerative diseases. Pretty much everyone you see walking around is dehydrated and they don't realize it. And that's in contrast to Eastern medicine. In the Japanese model of healthcare, the doctor only gets paid when you get better. So there's the correct incentives to want to see people.
I really want to move to Japan.
Get healed. So in the U.S. is one of the only developed countries where you can go, bankrupt due to your medical bills. So as far as getting back to Kangen and why Kangen is the superior water, why it's the medical grade water, it directly addresses those two problems. It's super hydrating and it helps restore the acid alkaline balance, and it's the most antioxidant substance you can drink. It's 4 times more antioxidant than green tea. Can you imagine trying to drink the equivalent amount of green tea? You'd be kind of bouncing off the walls.
Well, very interesting. The other thing that I find that it's really fascinating is that when you are hydrated, you can completely let all the other systems of the body heal. And when we start to heal our own bodies, we heal the world. So I think there's this real direct correlation into our own consciousness and what happens in the environment. So if we're taking better care of ourselves, we're going to be taking better care of the earth. And part of the shift in the eco-revolution is the shift of realizing that a choice like drinking water and spending the money on a system like this compared to buying something that is just...
your medications.
Yeah.
Think about it.
It's worth it. And it's not the price point as much as you're making a statement of how you are acting in the world. So it's permaculture.
Mm-hmm. And think about it. You get a system like this, you start drinking the water, you're feeling better, you don't need your pills. You end up saving more money than if you were to, it's too expensive and whatever excuses we make on our health. And so, get the water. I love it.
What I love about it, too, is that it falls right into the recycling, because we would get glass jars and we would make our own water and we would have it saved, and we would, I know you brought plastic, but that's okay, but
the Kangen, they have their own bottle too when it's made from glass and stuff.
Beautiful. So out there, please try to budget for one. Try to take your water a little bit more seriously. And the whole fact of when you see how many bottles that you actually have used in the week, you're going to be like, I drink a lot of water. Also, how many baths you take. Not that, that would be really decadent to take a bath in this.
I've done it. Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, back to the health crisis, too. I would just really like to bring in one final thing without getting too political, but being part of the Green Party is just a really fascinating party that I'd like to spend some time shedding light onto, because this is a party that doesn't use any corporate funding, and it's also about the earth and about bringing people into the workforce and making a difference. So the Green Party maybe could bring this on a government level and get us all into this wonderful Kangen water system.
You're creating.
Yeah.
You're creating. You're putting the intention out there.
What about your personal commitment? Tell me more just about you as a...
Sure. No, the reason why I was, I've been working with the local chapter of the Green Party, on and off over the years. But more recently, I've come to see that it can be part of the the political. It's, the shift in consciousness, as expressed in the political arena. I think we've, seen a common thread over the past, few years, few decades, where the two-party system has become corporatized and is not reflecting, the will of the people.
When the big six corporations can go under the radar and call themselves farmers, that's when something's got to change. It just blows me away what these people call transitional companies are capable of doing now.
Sure, and we're seeing, bipartisan support on really terrible pieces of legislation like the Trans-Pacific Partnership and more recently the DARK Act, also called the Safe and Affordable Food Labeling Act. So this is, preempts states from being able to pass GMO labeling initiatives. And, I think this is an anti-democratic power grab, and we're seeing that it's, that they're getting bipartisan support. So I believe that, the millennial generation just needs to not put any energy into the old paradigm. That's
the revolution, guys. That's it. Exactly. A shift in paradigm, taking the power back into our own hands, making our own water, and just not trying to fight the system, but get around the system.
Create your own system.
Yeah, create our new world. The shift is happening, and I hope that we're all going to take it to the next level. So I want to thank you so much again for being here. That was fascinating. We got our answer. Really want to get one of these systems in place here that'll add to the bee water. And we're going to talk a little bit about Dr. Emoto, and watch this, you non-believers. Look at the documentation. Research this man. I've been called the Dr. Emoto of the plant world because I believe that it's the water element in these plants that we resonate with. And between the sun, the moon, the stars, and all of the earth energy we connect to and is affected by the tidal poles, our water element is one of the most important for the revolution. Sure.
Yeah, and I offer 2-week free samplings of the Kangen water. So if anybody is interested in, giving it a shot, just send me an email. My email is kangen@lovelifewater.org.
Beautiful. Say that one more time.
That's Kangen, Kangen, at lovelifewater.org.
I love it. Look at your water. Make it sacred. And if you go to Las Vegas, tell them to turn off the fountains. Want to dedicate this show to Margot and great work in California bringing permaculture to more people. So thank you all, George and Miss Sunset. Find out, too, about the diet program on katherineb.com. This is really fascinating, and we're going to use this kind of water. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
So blessings to the water, blessings to all people affected by drought and to drink.
Thanks for listening to Catherine B. and the Echo Revolution on SoFloRadio.com.
From high atop 1926 Hollywood Boulevard, you're listening to SoFloRadio.com.